Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to the Not So Bad Bachelor Pad, your favorite podcast for learning how to balance between being a functional adult and a raging dumpster fire. And let's be honest, some days we're all a bit of a dumpster fire. Joining us inside the Bachelor Pad this week is GT Tran. GT, thank you so much, especially today. It's been a day, guys. Thank you so much for making time for us today. Welcome into the Bachelor Pad.
I'm good, man. I'm good. By the way, it's GT Tan, okay, not Tran, okay? Yeah, it's all
I'm
good.
so see. That is one of those things I was telling you about. GT Ton. All right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know there's so many Tan, Tran, Tan, all that different Asian name. It's all good, yo. This is part of like learning about different people from different culture, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
it's always love. Always love.
Awesome, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, fellas. Let's just get straight into it. If you've ever said I don't have a porn problem, but you're hiding your browser history or you don't want people to know what you're into, this is going to be the episode for you.
Yeah.
GT, he's gonna bust this wide open. We're just not gonna hold any punches. That's what we're not gonna do. Because that's what everybody comes for in the Not So Bad family. We shoot straight. We're all about honesty and elevating ourselves. And even if that means we have a little bit of a wanking problem.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's the kind of crowd that I'm only in, honestly. So yeah, we shoot straight, man.
Then you are definitely in the right place. And I'm so excited to get into this. So, starting up, be honest, how many tabs or how often is too often for a guy or just anybody really to be consuming adult content, especially in the month of Masturbation May, which we're in right now at the time of this recording. Listen,
I didn't even know there's such a month like that. Okay,
you did, this is my
I
favorite
I, I didn't
month.
even know. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
masturbation May. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
This month, I always issue a challenge to all the listeners. Each day we do a new thing, but it's presence is greater than porn, I say. So we try to get away from the screen and just spend some time reconnecting. What do you think is too much consumption?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think a lot of people like usually that's the first question they ask. I do watch porn, but when is it? Do I know it is too much? Right? Actually, it really depends on you. It really depends on how it makes you feel and when you're the most honest version of yourself to yourself.
Okay.
If once a month, once a week, or even once a day, or however many days that you do it, or how frequent you do it, right? It bothers you, it is enough for you to think about like second guessing, maybe I shouldn't do it as much, whatever the case is, or even do it at all, if it
Hmm.
actually challenges your values, your beliefs, and it's not like it's actually like away from your self image and your identity, your integrity, well, then it's something for you to think about, right? To really consider, oh, maybe I should actually control it at least, and then maybe you are one of those that actually ready to end it completely.
I mean, that really makes sense because they always say the first part in fixing a problem is admitting that you have a problem. So if you have to question, am I doing this too often? Then I guess that kind of answers the question.
Yeah.
It's like should I have that last cookie or should I have that last whatever? Then you probably shouldn't. I guess porn is no different.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it includes like how it affects your brain. And for those of you who are listening right now who might actually still occasionally watch porn and it hasn't really affected you at all in your life, you still have an amazing life, you have an amazing family, you have an amazing career, right? Um but there's a part of you feel like you're not able to just unleash your full potential of whatever that is that you like to do, right? It could be your career, it could be your professional performance, it could be your bedroom performance, right? Or it could be your emotional intimacy, the depth, right? That you actually have with your partner, or even like your fatherhood, right? Your ability to actually remain present with your kids. You just got to actually be aware of that. And then there's another thing you can do is to actually have an experiment. Just really like commit to yourself for a short term fast of this behavior and see how it actually affects you. If there's a change of it, well, That's your answer right there. You probably be better without it, right?
Yeah.
And if you actually have trouble staying away from it, that's usually what a lot of men they start
Hmm.
actually feel a lot of withdrawal symptoms, and they actually realize, whoa, why do I keep thinking about it, when they actually started trying to actually have a fast,
Hmm.
because your body, your mind, your biology is so used to that sensation, and you don't have that. And guess what? That's probably a sign that it was a problem. So that it is a problem.
And that's really prevalent today because a lot of our population is starting to develop addictive personalities from the time that we are on our phones, on our laptops, binge watching shows that we can do now, getting rid of commercials. We're so used to having all this constant stimulation, and our porn consumption, our eating habits, like every part of our life is really affected by that. Like we have to do everything in copious amounts, it seems like. We can't just do things in moderation anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, especially just the way that we actually uses our, phones. And it's just right there, right? Whatever that is that you
Convenient.
actually into, yeah, social media and all that. And also in social media too, I think unfortunately there's a lot of pornography, to be found on social media in itself, right?
That's so true. It's sometimes I can't even discern which one's which anymore.
I know.
Is
Yeah.
is it that orange and black tab, or is it the one with the big X on it? They're kind of the same thing.
We just so desensitized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're also getting it at an earlier age. Before, I remember when magazines were still a thing, like people would make a big deal about a Playboy or,
Yeah.
like a GQ Hustler magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Now, people don't even touch the magazine. I don't even know if stores still have a magazine section
Yeah,
for
back
one.
then, like there were still some kind of like, I mean, it was still a taboo now,
Hmm.
but it's no longer a taboo to be sexual anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because of sex positivity. And I'm all about like sex positive. I'm actually all about that. However, like back then, with pornography, you go to a store, and I think like this sort of generation are probably like, those of you who are in your mid 30s to late 30s, or even older, 40s or 50s or 60s, right? You probably remember the days that you have to go to the store, and the back of like the store, the bookstore, and then those books, like the rack, it's like you can only see the titles. You
Yeah.
cannot even
You
see
can see the
the
cover. Yeah.
yeah, you can't see the cover because it's explicit, right? And there's a lot of those in all these different like convenience stores or whatnot. And but now you don't even see those anymore. Why? Because it's all online.
I think emboldens a lot more people to consume it because before, when you had to check it out from the library or a movie store, you'd always get like one or like another book or another like movie and put on top of it and just like
Yeah, yeah.
slide
And
it up,
brown
like add it
paperback.
in the stack. Yeah.
Brown paperback.
But now you wouldn't think twice about leaving your browser history open or being an OF, subscriber or the plethora of other things that we do that are just like, okay, it's like nonchalant. Like you said, we
Yeah, it's nonchalant. People
desensitized.
even joke about it. People will
Yeah.
like share, oh yeah, which porn star you follow and things like
Hmm.
that. There's literally a whole entire convention committed to that, the adult video convention, and of course, like the whole entire OnlyFans industry, right? I think last year, you know how much they actually generated revenue?
Did I no? Tell me. It was a crazy number because I do remember we talked about it in a previous episode, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it was 6.6 billion.
I was
Billion.
like,
Billion, okay?
yeah,
And that's actually more than like the top rated or like the highest traffic porn sites combined, which is
yeah.
MindGeek, right? So MindGeek owns all of these different porn sites, right?
Oh
They
wow.
actually generated, I think yearly it's about 500 million, which is a lot of money already.
Yeah,
But OnlyFans in itself generated 6.6.
that's
Yeah.
just that's just why it's wild,
Uh-huh.
and I understand why people do it. Like I was like, if
Yeah.
you're in an industry where you're carving out a huge chunk of the revenue, why
Yeah,
not?
without getting out of your house, right?
Yeah,
So right. But for us, at Elevate Recovery, we focus on the men who wants to get help,
yeah,
because not every man needs help, to be honest. and not every man wants help, right? So
Listen, I was like, you've not said true words because some people can handle moderation, or at least for me, do I still watch? Of course I do. My mom's voice always pops into my head. She was like, "These are just movies. These are just TV shows. Like it's make believe. Like these people aren't really, these aren't
yeah,
who these actors are." So I can
yeah,
disassociate that. I was like, this is just like going to watch, my favorite
a
TV
movie or a
show. Like,
TV show. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, it's cool, except you get a little tingle. But some people, they really can't. They think of it as real life. I was like, they need it. They just consume it so much that they hyper fixate on it. So for those people, but some people are okay with that being their lifestyle. And it's not really my place to judge or force you out of it. Like you said, if you're still functioning. Now, if it becomes debilitating where you can't function without it, like you said, some people do go through withdrawals, then I think that's where we need to reevaluate our consumption methods, the time we're doing it. Even now, like some states are requiring more identification to keep people from forming that addiction in the first place.
Yeah, but you already know a lot of these like identification, all that stuff and everything. There's so many ways to actually go over that, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of underage viewers on these
Hmm.
sites as well, right? And what's the average age of pornography exposure?
I would say maybe around like 15.
6 years old.
No way. Well,
It's 6 years old. Okay. So why? Because there's a lot of this different pornography sites
hmm
on things. They just slip through the cracks. There's just so much of them. If you were to take like literally, like you asked, what is the type of content? Like actually just literally just go to like I don't know, any of these like traffic search, right?
hmm
Literally like a website that tracks like the highest traffic of all times live. 7 out of 10 of those sites are pornography, or at least half of them. It changes daily, right? But half of them are search engines, Google or Facebook, X, like social media, YouTube, right? But the other half, at least 4 to 5 of them out of 10, they're all porn sites. And if you were to track all of the most viewed sites are pornography. And here's another thing, like for a lot of men, and it's really up to you if you want to actually quit porn or not, right? Even consider want to
Yeah.
control it. But consider this: the kind of content that you actually are exposed to, like you and me, brother, we've seen more different types of naked women, different shapes of it, more than our ancestors combined, and definitely more than the emperors from the Greece,
Who had all those concubines?
Genghis
Yeah.
Khan, literally like the leader of the leader in the past, right? Or Caesar, right? All these different war heroes, right? Literally kings. They haven't seen that many. Like they probably have in person, but it's different. Like now we actually see all different shapes, literally like in terms of the speed. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. In our brain, unfortunately, Joshua, it's not designed to handle that. It's actually different than watching a movie. It is,
Really?
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, because yeah, you are watching a movie, but
hmm
like because is designed to make it so realistic that you are as if you're in it, that you're participating in it. It actually trains your brain. Actually, there's two things. One is trains your brain thinking that you're doing the real deed, thinking you're gonna have sex, but
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not. You know, and then at the back of your mind, you know that you're not about to have sex. You're not about to procreate, and
hmm
it tricks you. And at the back of your mind, you know that you're not doing it, but you're also still pleasuring yourself while watching it.
hmm
That's one thing. Another thing is you're also watching it. You're training your mind as more the more you watch it, you're watching someone else doing the deed. You're essentially in some ways in a very unconscious way. I got a lot of heat from people, me just saying this. You're training your mind to be a cuck because you're literally watching another man having sex with another woman while you being a spectator.
You're right. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And it's almost inception in a way because some people are still probably watching cuck or hot wifing content. So I was like, You're watching somebody get cucked. You're cucking yourself watching somebody get cucked.
That's like another layer of that,
Yeah,
right?
it's like the little Russian dolls. It's this big thing with a bunch of little things stacked on top of it or inside of it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
you're right, and I was like, this then moves away from being just a solo issue to being a relationship or a couple issue too, because
absolutely.
if you're so primed for these fantasy situations that 99% of us never live out, just being honest, and you need these certain conditions to even be stimulated, when it's time for you to perform with your partner or with any partner, if you're not in that mood, you don't perform as well or maybe at all.
Yeah, porn-induced erectile dysfunction has become more and more common now, including men in the 20s.
That number used to be, or for men ages, I would say like 45 and up, but
Yeah,
now you're right, it's dropped to getting right out of high school almost.
pretty
Some
much. Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are having trouble getting up or maintaining it, and it's because they overuse a muscle.
Yep. They overuse the muscle, or more importantly, they overstimulated themselves in
Yeah.
the brain. It's actually more of that brain and that
Hmm.
mind, that saturation, of like ecstasy,
Yeah.
with the screen is wired the brain into the screen rather than actually connecting with a real human being.
I think it's less than 10% who present with ED is caused from actual physical issues.
Yeah, or
It's
medical
mostly,
issues.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
mostly, like I said, psychological issues pertaining to be overstimulated and all the rabbit holes that's gone through.
absolutely. Yeah,
But I was like, there still are a portion of men, like I said, who have um, issues just circulating blood, or they have maybe a leak somewhere. We're
sure.
not saying that if you have ED that it's all in your head, so to speak. I was like, it can be in the body, but for the most part, that's what it is now.
Yeah, that's why with our clients, we even actually send them a blood test to really see what's going on. We don't just like look at one area. We actually look at all areas of their life. It's holistic,
Yeah.
and it has to be holistic because porn addiction, right? That
Hmm.
addictive behavior is just a symptom. It's just a symptom. And it's a symptom of something deeper that a lot of these guys are not really addressing, right? And it
Yeah.
could be in their relationships, it could be if they're a bachelor, right? Their dating life, the way that they actually like have their social circle, right? The way they actually balance their work life and also personal life, the physical fitness, physical health, right? Sleep, what time they wake up, what do they do when they wake up, what do they think that when they wake up, what do they consume in their head, what do they consume right before they go to bed. There's a lot of all these different things, and of course, there's also trauma as well. A lot of guys have unresolved trauma because it's so hard to actually talk about those things,
Yeah.
right? It is still like for certain age group, right? I would say like the older age group, a lot of men in that age group, I would say like probably like in the 40s or 50s, that's still like not sure about getting professional help for mental health, and it's still a taboo. And hence that's why it's so important for you for us to really encourage more men to engage in professional help when they need it.
That's why one of the biggest points that I push about being sexually open or sex positive
Sure.
is educating and yourself and taking care of yourself, because as much as that means, yeah, do whatever, find pleasure in whatever way you can that
Yeah.
makes you happy, that also means doing it in a way that's healthy
Yeah.
and that doesn't hinder your relationships, whether it's
Yeah.
the relationship with yourself,
Yeah.
relationship with your partners, relationship with your job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned about like the relationship with partners, right?
Hmm.
And we'll definitely actually we'll touch on that later. But relationship with yourself, I think that's the most important piece, because I
100%.
think all of us, all men, know. I think the most typical one. I used to do that, to be honest. Okay, I used to struggle with this too. This is not just something that I do it, as a profession, just because it is my job. No, it's not my job. It is my life. Okay, I live, eat, shit, breathe. porn addiction recovery. And we've been doing that for many years. Okay. My mentor, JK Mazy, who is the founder of Porn Reboot System with Elevated Recovery, he's been doing this, for the last 14 years now. And he's still helping a lot of men, overcome this. And the system works very well because we actually have an ecosystem. And what
Mm-hmm.
we've found is that a lot of guys, I used to do that as well. I was gonna share a story where, well, this is not just one story. It happened a lot of time in the past, where you're a bachelor, you go out, you try to meet some woman, and like you actually had a good night,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then but like at the last minute, whoever that you actually got along with didn't really like go like to the direction where you actually ideally want to be. you know,
You know,
or
you
they have a last minute resistance, or whatever the case is, or
right.
you got caught blocked, by one of their friends, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the case is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then guess what? Now you end up with what? With blue
Blues.
balls.
That's right. That's right. You get the blues, the double B.
Yep, yep. And then what do you do then?
You
What do
know,
you that's
I
what do
was
you
like,
do? Let's just
let,
be honest here.
let's be
What
honest.
do you do?
Any fella who's watching right now or listening, like drop a comment. If you've been in that situation and you've gone to that orange and black site after a night out that just didn't end the way you thought it was. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or whoever that is, you could be you going on a date, you got friends, or whatever the case is, right? Or you just one of those that you actually about to go out, but you didn't, and then you use pornography to cope. And right after that, yeah, you feel a little bit relieved. You might feel like, even like temporarily like a man because
Hmm.
you're watching some kind of porn that makes you feel like a man.
Right.
But shortly after that, you feel that shame, you feel that guilt and that embarrassment. That's a sign that you need help. That's a sign you need to reach out. And that's a sign
Yeah.
that I know and we know we don't judge here. Right. And that's why it's so important for you to reach out for the right help so you can talk about it openly. And that's the beauty of like our community is that there's no judgment and privacy, confidentiality is our highest priority. We have pastors reach out to us. We have NFL players reach out to us. Doesn't matter, what kind of
I was like,
profession
it's
you got.
something that
Truck
affects everybody.
drivers,
Yeah.
even coaches, right? Reach out to us too. Like different fitness coaches and whatnot. They've all reach out to us. Yeah, it doesn't matter what who you are, right? In the public eye, we're here to help.
I mean, that's really great. There aren't enough safe spaces for men, is what we've been saying for years, or as long as the show's been around. And
Yeah,
what I mean by that is we're always shamed into talking about our feelings or
yeah,
asking for help. Like the biggest example that everybody knows is like men hate asking for directions because I was like because they think they have to know everything. It's not that we hate asking for directions because we're okay being wrong. That's not a thing.
yeah,
We hate being shamed or humiliated for needing assistance. And I was like,
yeah.
no
Well,
human can make it through this
yeah.
life on
Well,
their own.
especially
So,
with this too, right? I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think there's a difference with like asking for help for like something more general, right? Or even just asking for directions, or even asking for help. Let's say like I'm just gonna talk about in addiction realm for alcohol addiction or even drugs addiction, right? Yes, those, yeah, is still a taboo compared to regular asking for help.
mhm,
But compared to porn addiction, oh, yeah, that's actually a lot more normalized and actually a lot more open now compared to like, oh, I have a porn addiction,
right.
right? Just that line right there is so hard for a man to verbalize it or to even admit to himself. And that's where the true help really lies, is you got to be honest with yourself.
Had a friend who maybe after about 5 or 6 years finally was able to admit that he needed help dealing with his porn addiction simply
Mm.
because he was like, I feel like if I was going to be like a sex addict, I wish it was for in person, like partner to partner
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than just watching videos or camming all the time. I never really thought about it. I see where you're coming from, but I mean, it's not a difference. To me, there's not really a difference. Whether your vice is drinking or smoking, I was like, if it's something that is hindering you and you are using it as a crutch, I get it. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but it's okay. I was like, there are other people who are probably feeling the same exact way you do.
Yeah.
And that's why they come to people like you
Yeah.
so they can start to get some sense of normalcy back or find some sense of
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, because there's also a certain subset of men, porn is no longer does it. So they get into what? Actually, they get into something more extreme that is against their identity, this orientation, transgender porn, gay porn, all kinds of different kinds of category that's more extreme. And then when that is not even enough, they started doing something in person or OnlyFans, which is essentially a digital form of prostitution, right? And when that's not enough, they do the in person one, which is actual prostitution, and they get into a high risk situation, right? And of course, another thing, just to put a note, because we did, we mentioned about like how it affects relationships. I actually just saw a study: 86% of relationships you know, that their partner have said, either girlfriend or wives, right, that their partner's secretive, hiding around behavior with pornography definitely hurts a relationship because of betrayal trauma.
That's a real interesting stat right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's not necessarily because of the pornographic usage in itself, it's the fact
Yeah.
that you hide it.
Yeah, I think the hiding has a lot to do with it, absolutely. But I think also because of pornography in itself, because it's sexual,
Hmm.
right? It does actually cause the partner to actually have second guess, of themselves, of their sexuality, attractiveness, and whatnot.
Right.
So
Especially if
yeah,
like you were talking about, they get into a more extreme and extreme type of porn. So
yeah,
when your partner sees that you're into something that's completely different than them,
but yeah,
that that's when they really start to question, and
but
you're
yeah,
in this downward spiral, so to speak.
but yeah, or even bring like STI back home, and certain things, that's more extreme, right? So yeah, yeah. I hope that's been helpful for the audience here, who's been listening to us.
Oh, I know that has, like I said, this is an issue that I'm glad we were able to shine a light on. One big question: why do you think this is so much harder to kick porn addiction than other types of addiction?
Great question, man. That's a really commonly asked question because it's attached to our basal needs, our instinctive needs of procreation. And when you watch porn, it confuses your brain. Like I said
Hmm.
earlier, it literally sends a signal that you're about to procreate, which is our most basal instinct. What are the two most basal instinct that we have? First is to survive. The second, is actually to procreate. It's not even
Procreate.
to get a shelter. First is just to survive. Actually, the shelter is part of survival,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But once we just have enough survival, right, we'll get to procreation right away.
All right. Nothing's gonna attack me from behind. Alrighty, let's get to it. No, I get it.
Exactly.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. Literally. That's just like part of our DNA for like tens of thousands of years, right? With the caveman. But of course, because of civilization, because of culture, because of education and religions and whatnot, right? It has tamed us in a way that we don't just go like all the way out, giving into our instinctive needs, right? But that's where porn comes in. Porn has a really like affected, like it's so available, man.
Yeah.
6 years old. And you know
Yeah.
who
It's
else? Like
crazy.
what our oldest client age is? 94 years old. So that just says that it doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah.
Porn doesn't discriminate. It will follow you to your grave if you allow it to.
Obviously, guys, we're gonna have to get GT back on because there's so much more that we can discuss, and I know you
Yeah.
guys have so many more questions. But I want to make sure that you are able to connect with him. If you don't even want to tell me, but if you're questioning, maybe I'm using this a little bit too much and you need to seek help, you want to start some type of treatment, where can they find you at if they are ready to start that journey?
Yeah. First of all, they can definitely look us up, on our website, elevatorrecovery.org, elevatorrecovery.org. That's our official website, and it has all the information in there as well. You can put in an application. If you're not sure, even you're more than welcome to put in an alias application too, right? we do have worked with a lot of men, who started out as alias, and of course, once we get to know them, they get to really like understand who we are. And then, we still like, use the alias, right? But of course, in the back end, we know who they are, right? And that privacy is our highest priority, right? Of course, I'll also share you some of the links, my links to my IG. If you just want to have a private chat with me, you're not comfortable to get on a call yet, that's totally fine. You can just send me a DM. We can just have a private chat, just two men talking. You don't even have to like want to work with us. Just have a chat, right? Just open the conversation. If you want like more of our free resources, you can also find us on all of the different sites that has like YouTube, all the podcast sites, wherever you listen to your podcast to. Porn Reboot Podcast, or Porn Reboot YouTube channel is where we host all of our videos. So
Thank you so much once again for making time for us today. Thank all you amazing bachelors and bachelorettes who were able to watch and just tune into this helpful information that GT has laid out for us. If you are a bachelor or bachelorette, I mean, who thinks, hey, I might really be struggling with maybe a porn addiction, don't be afraid to just reach out. Even if it's just a DM, I will make sure to put all of his links and down in the description in the show notes, you know where to find them. It's just a click away. We really are here just to help. If we can be the first step in your journey towards recovery, then we're happy to do it.
absolutely, man. And of course, if any of your viewers have a lot of more questions, well, if it's enough questions, we can do the second round again. We can answer those questions.
That's
So
right. Round two, just DM me, just leave a comment, and we'll get him back on. He loves he's like you said, he lives, breathes, and shits porn addiction. So I know he'll be happy to come and answer again. But
yeah,
until
absolutely.
then, I will see all you amazing people next week for another episode of the Not So Bad Bachelor.